I'm joined by Jenny Redacted. She's one of the most prolific creators in the Drawsteel community. She's just released Across the Solar Expanse, Space Battles back in March, and is working on a new seafaring supplement. We dive into the inspirations and ideas behind her designs. I'm John Denor, and this is Goblin Points. Welcome to Goblin Points, Jenny.
Hello, welcome to be here. That's me. I'm here. Hi.
Give us a short introduction of yourself and also how you came to be in the Matt Colville / MCDM community.
Okay. Well, I'm Jenny Redacted. I make stuff for Drawsteel because it's a great game. I started playing TTRPGs when I was in high school, and I played 5e for the most part, as I think most people did. And I was having a lot of trouble sort of challenging a lot of players and making fights seem fun and interesting. So lo and behold, my searches across the internet landed me on Matt Colville's action-oriented monsters video, which is what onboarded me to Matt's content and all the running the game series. But action-oriented monsters was my, awakening as a designer. As soon as I had the permission to just do what I wanted and make monsters cool, I created the most obscene abominations ever defeated by man and terrorized my battlefields with monsters that actually felt cool and engaging and fun. And then of course when Flea Mortals came around, I ran and used the hell out of those monsters and just continued to live in this amazing MCDM space. And I truly was one of those people that were like, hey, what if there was just a whole game like this? So that being said, however, this is controversial, did not back the original Drawsteel crowdfunder. I very much passed on it. It was obviously, and it helped it immensely, but it was around the time of the OGL debacle.
Yeah.
And I had looked through and seen a couple other games that people were pitching, things like the DC-20 RPG, like Dungeon Coach, his RPG, and a couple. I think Daggerheart was also spruing up at the same time, like the original, like the announcements of it and things like that.
Yeah.
And I was sort of I had just kind of put up a wall of a sea of people trying to capitalize on, hey, D&D sucks, come over here. And so I just sort of kind of drowned it out along with all the noise of these other things, and I didn't really latch onto it. I'd heard about it, I'd seen it, I was obviously an avid MCDM fan, so I had seen the videos and stuff, but I wasn't really interested in it. But because I'm an avid MCDM fan, I've been a patron for a long time, so I got the original Patreon playtest packets. So a couple months down the line, once production started and the game was going, I'd check my email, see this cool PDF, look through it, I'm like, hey, this looks pretty neat. Got some players together. I only managed to scrounge up 2 people, and we play tested a fight with some goblins. It was a tactician and a shadow, and it was some of the most fun I've ever had in doing a combat of some goblins. But after that little playtest, I hadn't really touched it again. I didn't look back at the newer packets, and it just kind of kept going and going until eventually it come out. This was obviously only a couple months ago, right? It's a very new game. And I'm like, oh, this game is out. I remember that being kind of fun. The starter set, Adventure's only $20. Yeah, I'll pick that up. That sounds sweet. I cracked open the PDF for the Delian Tomb. I skimmed through it, read it. I immediately closed it, went back over to the MCDM store, and immediately bought both the Heroes and Monsters books. And the rest is history. For the last, 8 or so months, I've been hard pressed in the Drawsteel community, creating content and making all sorts of stuff for it.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that was mentioned by my patrons who submit questions, because Anonam of Trig Love Games literally asked, where does Jenny find the energy, inspiration, and time to do so much stuff?
That's a great question. It comes and goes, really. I have been asked. Maybe it was Anonym who said it just in the homebrew server, but there was definitely someone else who's like, "Where do you find the like? How do you just make this stuff?" I'm a very much like a hyperfixation person, right? I'm not officially diagnosed with anything, but obviously I share a lot of neurodivergent traits with my many friends, as many people do. Oh, I am specifically a person who really latches on to things that are new and exciting, and I either, let them run their course and do their thing, or they become a part of my personality forever. One such other thing that I think I can only compare Draw Steel to, other than the original D&D, right, is Magic the Gathering. And specifically just card games in general and games. I'm a very avid gamer in all the sense of the word, right? I play a lot of video games, but I also play like card games and CTTRPGs. And I am like very precise and like I absorb information so incredibly fast that the amount of time it takes me to become like really good at something is incredibly short. So as soon as I got my hands on Draw Steel, started reading the rules and like started like understanding it, I immediately just started going to work and making stuff and just starting to be like, I don't know what I've been trying to capture it. And like I've had conversations in the Homebrewery server about this very topic of what is it about Draw Steel that invites so much creation and creativity.
Yeah.
And I like the environment that MCDM has cultivated. Matt Coville, like, bridging the gap of making people entrepreneurs, right? So many different facets and things about it, but I even can't explain for myself what about it really decided, hey, this is going to be it. Other than one specific note, and this is a fun anecdote, Hazon, great person in our community. They are now a dev for DM Hub. They created the Scion on the Codex and are working on other stuff like the Gunslinger. I don't even know if they know this, but they were the first person to respond to my first post in the MCDM Draw Steel server about my original Draw Sales like pirate ship rules, which are so bad. Do not go and look at that creation post. They are not good. Hazon was the first person to respond, and literally the response was just like, "Hey, this is awesome." And that one comment just like ignited a spark in my brain of like, this is it. This is what it's all about. It's making shit and having some person, anyone, just go, that rules. And that has driven me like, I think about it a lot because it is such a small moment, and I don't even know if Hazon even remembers that. But I do. And it has stuck with me for a long time of like, that's what it's all about.
As a person that puts stuff on the internet, sometimes just like the one person that actually says something nice and it's like, oh my god, it was all worth it after all.
All it takes is a little bit of positive reinforcement.
So you started out creating stuff immediately. Let's just jump right past the the Draw Sales stuff. And I think that we talked a bit about it before we started recording, but I think the first thing I remember seeing from you was the solar ancestry, partly because of the art that came with it.
Yes. The Solars is and has been my long-term project. Hopefully, fingers crossed, there has been more information and you guys have seen a lot more stuff about it by now. But anyone who's been in the Homebrew server for a long time will know that this has been something I've been spitting. Obviously, we've seen some Solars pop up in certain places. It's on Forged Steel, thanks to the implementation that Andy did. The Solars was like my jumping off point for actually making good design in Draw Steel. Once I had like kind of gotten the actual fundamentals of it, I was inspired by this piece of art I saw, and I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if Draw Steel's like Isomar type ancestry or like angel person was sort of like this celestial space person, right? Because I'm a big fan of sci-fi fantasy in general. Like my favorite movie of all time is Return of the Jedi.
Okay,
I know it's not the best Star Wars movie, but it's my favorite because it's been that way since I was a kid.
Sure.
So bias. But space fantasy, all that sort of stuff really tickles my brain, and seeing Draw Steel like put it in the forefront of the core rules with the Memnek and the Time Raider saying this is, and like the Timescape, and this is also Draw Steel. Like Draw Steel can also be this. Immediately made me go, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so I whipped it up. I created it. I put it out. It's obviously free. You can get the Solar Ancestry with the Across the Solar Expanse product coming soon, hopefully.
Do a bit of digging on the Across the Solar Expanse product, because you've sent me some spreads that the listeners hopefully will have had a look at once this gets out. And of course there's the amazing stained glass art that's on it's an introduction page about the Solar. And there's also an impressive list of adversaries.
Yes, there's quite a lot in this one. I forget the exact number, but it's above 30.
So these are third echelon monsters that are all part of like are they part of like one big monster band, or are they multiple smaller ones?
So there's two monster bands that are basically a variant of each other. There is the Solars and the Eclipse Knights. Eclipse Knights are also Solars. They have just undergone a form of, I guess you could call it, torture. They are Solars who have committed crimes against Solar Society, and for those crimes, because in the lore of the Solars, whenever a Solar dies, their essence they kind of like twinkle into light, and their essence returns to the stars from which they were born. It kind of scatters across the cosmos, and sort of, again in quotation marks, impregnates these new stars. And then when those stars explode due to supernovas and a Solar is born, that Solar who was born from a star who has been, graced with the essence of another is sort of like the lineage of that Solar. They're not reincarnated, they're new people, but they are like descendant from those before them.
Right.
So if you were to, lock up, or like execute your Eclipse Knights, your bad guys, their essence would just spread across the stars, and then you'd get a bunch more bad guys in several millennia. So the only place in the universe where you could reasonably trap a Solar is a black hole. So Solars cast their prisoners into the heart of a black hole where they shall never see light or escape again. But something happens to certain Solars who are cast into black holes. A mysterious presence, may it magic or otherworldly, calls to them. The void itself bonds with these Solars. They lose their starry visage, their skin turning deep purple or black, their hair becoming the same trapped light you see behind a black hole in space, and they emerge on the other side, reborn as envoys of oblivion. And so they're the Sith. They're the bad guys. That's the point. Is that like because they also have solar blades, right? They have psi blades and lightsaber ripoffs that are, you can find those in the book as well. They are magic items designed by Mr. Matt Dollar. So that's kind of the where my space fandy comes in, where it's the Sith versus the Jedi. Where like, and there's some nuance. You'll see it in like sections on the Eclipse Knights about like how to play an Eclipse Knight. There are like different takes you can take with it, right? You don't have to be an evil person to play an Eclipse Knight. There's a lot of interesting stories to be told where you are not an evil person and you were cast into a black hole and had to crawl out. Maybe you're on a path of redemption, or maybe you were framed, right? And just because you went through that process doesn't mean you're any more evil. It just means you look different. And there's, a bit of political dichotomy that can happen there between Solar Society and how they view Eclipse Knights and how they're raised and taught to treat Eclipse Knights versus their own kind. And then, of course, regular Solars can come in all sorts of colors of stars, your yellows, your reds, your blues, and whites. Whereas Eclipse Knights usually they either go the black, like dark black skin, almost like void inky black, and then golden yellow hair that is like the kind of light you see trapped behind a black hole in space, like the images you see. Yeah. Or they go dark purple hair and skin, like more fantasy black holes that have like the purple magic, the elementalist in the void elementalist in the core rules takes that approach of like purpley black holes, which are complete utter nonsense, but it's fantasy. So you could do that. Eclipse Knights, by the way, make great void elementalists. They go hand in hand. Like that's like, two peas in a pod.
That's by design then.
Yes, the Eclipse Knights. So I don't think the Eclipse Knight ancestry will be revealed. I think I said the spread to you, but I think I'm going to keep that one under wraps because it is the only ancestry in the book that's behind the paywall because the other one's free. But they have some features that make them quite good at teleporting as they tap into the void of the black hole that rebirthed them, I should say. So those are the two monster bands.
I'm looking at the Eclipse Knight ancestry page now with a piece of art that's, I mean, it is a Jedi or rather a Sith.
yeah. It's pretty apparent. The art, that one will probably be the art. I think I would put. I've shared the art in the Homebrew server, so that one's probably on the preview pages. Yeah, it is very good. That same artist, and I probably should have them all pulled up right now. I know that I can say off the top of my head that Vermilion is the person who did the stained glass pieces. I believe that's Vermilion 77 on VGen. They are also the person who did the stained glass for my quarry for the Gems of the Timescape entry. Their stained glass pieces are so great. I believe, and then shout out because they, in terms of getting them more work, but I believe they also did a piece of art for Jonas's College of Infinite Reflections Shadow, which is just released very recently to when we're recording this. So they did one of those too. The Lagger 702 does all of those big splash pages in the ancestry. So there's one for the solar as well. That's not in the spreads, but there's one for the solar, and then another one that's also in a different part of the book, I think just near the table of contents. They're like just really awesome, like full splash page pieces. I have put so much money into the art for this product because I want people to know what these things look like and have it be really realized.
Yeah. The art pieces that in the spreads that you've sent are amazing.
Yeah, they're really good.
There are two pieces actually in one of the spreads with some solar monsters.
Yes.
They too look so good. I was looking at them earlier and I'm just enchanted.
I am so happy with those two. They are so good. That artist is actually, I invited them. They're an artist from the Draw Steel community. That is done by Rengeld. You can actually find their work and their listing for commission in the Draw Steel Brewery server in the art showcase forum. You can find and hire them for your stuff. Do that. They are very good. I just recently got another piece from them for Under the Black Flag, which is another thing I'm working on because I don't sleep.
That leads us nicely into Black Flag, which is a ship supplement, as in ships on the sea, not in space. Correct?
Yeah. But it will eventually lead there. As I'll get to. But yeah, so Under the Black Flag is a pirate nautical themed supplement for Draw Steel. We've got, you got your pirate kits, your buccaneer firearms. You've got sweet nautical themed subclasses like the Fathomless Vessel, which I'm very excited to sort of be the first person to make a subclass for a homebrew class, I think. I don't think that's been a thing so far. Mainly because I know that other people were badgering me about making subclasses for their homebrew classes, so I might make it a trend. It's got some fun subclasses, as well as the Elastokinetic Gnoll, which is a gnoll who can use their psychic powers to stretch and grow their limbs and body, which might not seem piratey until you think about our very favorite good friend Monkey D. Luffy of One Piece fame.
Okay.
Mainly just because I wanted to make a stretchy subclass, and I figured it'd be a good place to do it. And then as well as the Siren Troubadour with their alluring voice. And then of course, can't have a nautical pirate game without ship-to-ship combat. So the ship-to-ship combat has been a struggle / journey. As we know from my very first toe dipping into Draw Steel design, Draw Sales, which I put in the Draw Steel MCDM server. I should go delete that, honestly, but they were an attempt at bridging the gap of playing a hero versus playing a boat. So there is some issues that come with designing ship-to-ship combat in most TTRPGs, and usually that results in you busting out a board game in the middle of your TTRPG session, where the rules are so separated from what you're normally doing that it is a different game that you are stapling onto your existing game. And that was something I really wanted to avoid. And I did so not only in this, but also in Space Battles, which we can cover a bit more, but Space Battles takes a similar design approach. But for this pirate ship, there's a unique design challenge of all of the heroes effectively occupying the same character, which is the ship.
Yes.
In Space Battles, I circumvented it because I took designed fantasy from Star Fox or X-Wing pilots, where everyone is in their own single starfighter, so everyone is still unique and separate. But on a pirate ship, you kind of really can't do that. Everyone's on the same boat. So there is this unique design thing of how do heroic resources work? How does stamina work and recoveries? Do we all share a health pool because we're one thing taking damage? Well, hey, heads up, that was Draw Sales, and it didn't work. Apparently, if you give one ship 90 stamina at level 1, it just doesn't die or come under any threat of injury. So that didn't work, and I really racked my brain to try to figure out how to make that work and how I would handle stamina and recoveries with everyone basically being the same token. And the solution came to me, I think, just like randomly on one day, but it helped as I have recently become a Star Trek fan.
Oh.
I was not previously. I had not seen any Star Trek, Star Wars, Ride or Die. My big pieces of sci-fi are like the Alien franchise, Star Wars, and then Doctor Who in recent years. I became a big Doctor Who fan.
Oh, I very much approve.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I have a 3D printed TARDIS deck box with my Magic the Gathering 14th Doctor deck in it. That has all the doctors in it. Literally sitting right next to me. But yeah, so Doctor Who, and then I recently acquired sci-fi, like I'm collecting the fucking Infinity Stones of sci-fi. I acquired Star Trek. I've been watching Next Generation. I've seen a couple of the other shows as well. That is like the quintessential like bridge crew fantasy in terms of like fighting on a ship. Like, everyone's tumbling over as the ship takes damage. Shield's holding at 30%, right? We just lost decks 4 through 16 or whatever. And in that kind of fantasy, the ship is taking damage in different parts of the ship. Like the shields are holding, right? And taking some damage, but also like, oh, that blow, we just lost that deck. Or, ooh, engineering is down, right? And so I thought, what if I translated that to a pirate ship and say, yeah, we just took damage. Which part of the ship just got hit? Did our cannons take a blow? Did we just lose a bunch of crew member who were manning those cannons and now like we need someone to replace that? Did we get hit in our rudder and now we can't turn? Did we get hit in the sails and now we're not as fast? Shout out to Spiger, good friend Kyle, because I could not for the life of me think of more things on a ship. Then they gave me a quick other list of possible things that could take damage, and I landed on 6 of them.
Oh, nice.
So to fill out like what's usually the max party size.
Yeah.
So the ships, and let's see if I can do this from memory. We have the mast, which handles like speed. It's what carries the sails, right? So the mast / sails. We have the crow's nest, which acts as the ship's lookout. The helm, which is the ship's wheel, and the rudder, as that's what happens when you turn the wheel. So that's all about turning and maneuvering the ship. We have the crew themselves, as in just how many people do we have manning, and how many deckhands. The cannons and the powder reserves, how well those are keeping up, as well as the hull. It's taking the brunt of the damage mostly. It's at the front of the ship, so that's the main thing. So the breakdown of the design is that not only do each of these parts of the ship matter, but they matter in very specific ways. Each part of the ship has its own stamina and recovery pool. And when your band of heroes go on a ship, you can decide which of the stations you want to manage. And those are the stations that are active. So you're not punished if you don't have 6 people, as long as you have your minimum of 3. You just pick the ones you want to use. And those are the ones you manage. And that way, in quotation marks, hopefully, still needs a lot of testing, the ship and the party's general HP still scales with the amount of people on it, right? Let's say you have 4 players. Well, now there's only 4 health pools because there's only 4 stations active. Right. So it becomes equivalent to just having 4 heroes fighting some goblins, right? Math-wise, I'm still working if that's going to work out. When a station is active, it provides a bonus that the whole ship gets to benefit from. For example, the crow's nest grants a bonus to the distance of the ship's ranged abilities. Because someone's acting as lookout and is able to point out and help you aim. Right? Or, obviously the mast provides a bonus to the ship's speed, or the helm provides a bonus to the ship's disengage. And disengage, I'm bringing back. Right? I think disengage is slept on. No one takes the disengage move action in draw steel normally, unless you have a crazy high bonus. So it is a big deal in open waters. You're going to be disengaging a lot. But not only do you get a bonus, you gain a increased benefit if you are a certain officer role. So there is, I think, currently 9 officer roles. There's more than there are stations, because there's a bunch of different roles you can play on the ship. And these are the classic fantasy stuff. You've heard this in every TTRPG. It's not original. You got your captain, you got your first mate, you got your helmsman, the gunner, the bosun, the chef, the surgeon, and the navigator, right? These are all basically, in quotation marks, the classes that you play on a ship. They determine which special abilities you gain access to and can use in ship combat. So if you are, for say, the bosun, right, which is like the ship's like repairman, and you are managing the hull, you gain a special extra benefit because that is the kind of place that you're most likely to be. And there's a couple overlaps. It's not just 1 and 1. There's like 2 roles for each station. So in case you don't have a bosun, someone else could potentially take the hull and be useful. But it adds a tiny bit more level of like tactical play if you don't have a full party, where you're like, which ones do we want to prioritize and what roles are we to maximize our efficiency of like which stations we want to pick up. So there's a bit of aspect in like shipbuilding and like, getting ready to sail the seas. The last bit that stations have is they have damage thresholds. Now, this isn't a threshold as in it taking damage, or like how much it can take / like reducing it. Rather, when a station becomes winded, the ship receives a negative penalty as the station has taken more damage. If it is dying, that penalty gets worse. And if it dies, aka is destroyed, that penalty is very bad and will stay that way until it is repaired during a respite. Usually shouldn't happen because that's about as often as a PC death, which doesn't happen often, but it can. This adds another level of tactical gameplay that sort of makes up for the slight lack of like positioning. Positioning will definitely matter, and making battle maps that are fun and engaging. Also, this is played on a hex grid, so that's fun. But making battle maps that are engaging for that is a challenge. But it kind of becomes a game of like, Battleship, where you're just sort of like lobbing your attacks at away enemies. But in play, it's like, as long as the battlefield is dynamic and your characters have a goal, an objective, keeping them moving and actually interacting with the battlefield has been very helpful and like is engaging. But the other layer of aspect is choosing who and what to heal, and keeping people up is way more important than you just being like, it's the Fury, they'll be fine. You need to heal them more. The stations also grant you a special trigger that is like your triggered action that lets you do cool stuff. There's no like ground through breaking design in a lot of these. A lot of these you'll see a lot of similar design and effects that you see in base Draw Steel classes, because the point isn't to make unique and different stuff. The point is to be on a boat. We want to play Draw Steel, but on a boat. So rather than make a different rule set that has D6s and different dice to see how many shots you land or whatever and ranges, everything in the combat is played out in Draw Steel combat. You've got your signature abilities, you got your power rolls, you got your heroic abilities, you got your trigger, you have your maneuver. Everything is the same. And it plays out just like Draw Steel combat, because Draw Steel combat is the reason we are playing Draw Steel.
True. In these combats on the ships, are the heroes and their classes contributing much, or is it all tied up to the officer roles and the ship's abilities?
So, mostly, no. But there is a caveat for both this and Space Battles, which I'm toying around with. We'll see how well it does, / if I'll add more. But your officer role gives you gives you 2 signatures. I think it gives you 2. I forgot. I don't have the document pulled up in front of me. I probably should. It gives you some signatures. It gives you a 3-cost heroic ability, and it gives you 1 or 2 maneuvers. This, plus the trigger you get from your station, gives you the full suite of level 1 abilities, save for your 5-cost ability. And your 5-cost ability comes from your hero's class. You gain a unique ability based on your hero's class.
Ah, yes.
So, for example, and I'm so sorry to people who have bought Space Battles, because I'm probably going to update this and add this later, I completely forgot to give the summoner a special thing. I designed multiple abilities for homebrew classes, some of which aren't even out yet, and I didn't make an ability for the summoner. Just fully forgot that is an official class that is out and does stuff. But don't worry about it. Rest easy. There is a special summoner main 5-cost heroic for the ship combats, and I literally just thought about the fantasy, and I'm like, well, what would being a summoner be really good on a ship? Well, obviously, you can just make more crew. You can just make more crew members. So the 5-cost ability for the summoner is instant deckhands. It is a buff you apply to multiple stations as you create minions to help man those stations. It's best, and it actually perfectly loops into another facet of the game design, which is new. This wasn't in the first playtest, but I'm trying it out for this playtest document. Which is that heroes on the ship have a limited action economy. On your turns, you can only take a combination of 2 of a main maneuver or move. If you use your main and maneuver, you can't move. If you use a maneuver, you can only main action or move. So it's not like Dazed, where like you only get 1 of the 3, you get 2 of the 3. This is because if every single person got to move the ship would be flying around at like 150 miles an hour on the water relative to the rest of the monsters you are fighting. It's sort of leveled out in the first playtest we did for it, but I'm trying this because I think it could serve the same purpose, where the heroes who are good at moving the ship are moving the ship, and the heroes who don't need to, if like we're in a position, then you're fine. It's not any harm done, but you have to kind of push and pull about moving the ship around. Is the main reason for that design. So with instant deckhands, you can choose 2 stations, and until the end of the encounter, or until those stations are dying, they can take all 3 actions. So you are manning those ships and those stations, so the heroes who are manning those stations are more capable of doing stuff. They have more hands on deck, so they are able to do more. I made a special 5-cost for basically all the base classes. The summoner didn't make one for the beast heart. Oh no, I did. I lied. I made one for the beast heart. I think I was fully like, I don't care. It's not out yet, but it's about to be. It should be this month, so It'll probably be out by the time Under the Black Flag eventually comes out. So I made one for the beast heart. And then for our homebrew classes, we have the gunslinger, the kiln, the mage right, scion, the vampire, which I didn't also include in Space Battles, and the vessel. Look out, Space Battles enjoyers. The vampire and summoner and beast heart, I guess, maneuvers will be coming soon, hopefully. Yeah, for space battles, they give you a special maneuver, which is in addition to your ship's regular maneuver, just as a bit of variety. This one, I took a different approach, and I was like, what if I think I took a different approach because I wanted to be more punchy. Because a 5 cost is like your ult, right? Especially at first echelon at level 1, it is the biggest thing you can do. So I like the idea that the biggest thing you can do is your class. Like, that is pushing forward. Not only like I'm playing draw steel on a boat. You know, like, you know, the elementalist can creates like this big area of effect that they create rocks to crash into the enemies. The gunslinger just has fire everything, which they just create a bunch of 2 cubes on the battle map to blow people up. You know, it was a lot of fun design space of thinking like how a class interacts with being on a pirate ship, and sort of that fantasy. So this is something that definitely needs a lot of testing. Hopefully you find it cool and want to go and have a danger room and play test it yourself. Please do, and let me know about it, because I have no idea if this works long term.
I have to say, this preview, the playtest document for Adventure on the Seas, is 42 pages. It is massive.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there. Luckily, I'm thinking I'm gonna not cut, but like, I'm, in terms of my long-term goals, I'm not gonna do as much as I thought I was gonna do. I might just leave this with first echelon ship stuff, and then do a separate one with more echelon ship stuff. I haven't decided yet. I currently am thinking of doing a level 2 band for enemy ships and a level 3 band for enemy ships. Right now we have level 1 band that is just your classic Navy, like schooners and, you know, gunboats and your man of war, right? The type of classic fantasy stuff. But for the second level enemy ships, I want to make a fleet of ghost ships.
Ooh, nice.
Because that is a classic fantasy of pirate fantasy, is fighting ghosts. And I like the idea of a fleet of ships that can just phase through rocks and islands because they're ghosts. And they're just teleporting around and creating ghastly mist and doing stuff. That seems fun and scary. And then for the level 3 band, because I thought of an idea and I thought it was really cool, is the level 3 band are iron ships. And they are the fleet of the war dogs. So they're like iron, like almost like battleship, like near modern battleships that the war dogs fight and sail on. And that being like a big like Navy aspect to, I imagine, what would be if you played a pirate campaign in Orden, that you'd be like facing off against the forces of Ajax on the 7 seas. If there's 7 seas in Orden, there probably is. It's big.
Yeah.
Shout out Matt Macoville. How many oceans does Orden have? We need a number stat.
There are seven cities of hell, isn't there? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there's 7.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe it needs to be a different number, but Matt also likes when stuff just randomly have the same name or number, I guess.
Yeah. This is the Atlantic Ocean. Just no correlation to anything or any of the landmass.
It has been mentioned a few times during the pirate supplement, but Space Battles, which you released in March.
Yes.
And which I have been enjoying reading through for both the news episode of Goblin Points and also in preparation for the stream I'm doing next week, as of recording this. And I've been lapping the whole of Space Battles up from the art to the ancestries, the monster bands, the new subclass. I love everything about it.
I am very happy. I'm happy to hear that. I was very proud of it. I thought it was really cool. I just kind of kept making stuff. And then I eventually had to do the classic thing where I say, Jenny, you need to stop. You need to cut it off. You did it. You did the thing. There's enough of it. There's enough. You can stop. And so I did, and I'm very happy with what it is. The ancestries, classic sci-fi fantasy stuff, mainly of my own creation, but you get classic, like your lizard guy, your android, right? We have the Quarry, which is my Jams of the Timescape entry, number 5. No, humble brag. 5th place. Expanded with some extra features. The 3 subclasses: the College of the Hired Gun, the Slayer Fury, and the Space Domain for conduits and sensors.
Yeah, both the College of the Hired Gun with the piece of art of a person that's taking off using some rocket boots thingies, which to me immediately screams, this is of course like a bounty hunter from Star Wars.
Yeah.
Very clearly. And I love the piece of art that you've used for the Slayer Fury subclass, which made me immediately think, because in the art they're carrying like a huge like motorized chainsaw sword.
Yes.
And it's, to me it immediately screamed, this is Doom.
Yeah.
This is
big there's actually quite, like, I think College of the Hired Gun is like explicitly, oh, you're a Mandalorian, like that is what you are. You're Boba Fett, right? You're Mando. Literally the trigger is not a scratch, which is just a hyper strong, like, half damage, reduce force movement, and reduce the potency because it just bounces off your armor is the flavor there. But the Slayer Fury was a lot of things. Obviously Doom Slayer was the first thing I thought of. The main trigger for the Slayer is
rip and tear.
Rip and tear. Yeah, obviously. Duh. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, and then also, yeah, that's literally from Doom. It's a classic Doom phrase. But it is inspired by the fantasy of, not just in Doom, but in other video games, where you get an enemy like stunned or low HP, and you can press a button to finish them. Yeah. And in Doom, a lot of the times is you just grab them and rip them in half.
I read that and I'm like, that's literally straight from the game.
Yeah, it's that paired with, this is another big part of the fantasy actually, and if I was to play this character in Draw Steel, I would make them the subclass, but Kratos from God of War also falls under the Slayer.
Yes, I totally see it. Yeah.
Because in God of War you have like a stun mechanic. If you stun an enemy, you can go up and then finish them, and literally most of the time Kratos is ripping these zombies in half, going crazy. But he's also, as we get to level 2 in the Slayer, and this is another fun part, I love the Slayer, I had so much fun playtesting it, but it is a ranged Fury subclass. You are incentivized to use ranged attacks. The first bit on your Growing Ferocity, I think it's your Growing Ferocity, it might just be the static ability, I think it's just a static ability, Growing Ferocity is a different thing, but the static ability of your Growing Ferocity, like how the Berserker or the Reaver gets, like, force movement bonuses and stuff, the Slayer Fury gains a bonus to range damage if they are within 5 squares of you. Which is a fun bridge, where you're like, I'm not telling you to take the sniper kit and stand on this side of the battlefield. I'm telling you to be just close enough to hit all of the enemies you want. Because 5 squares is not a lot. That's your range 3 strike.
Yeah.
So as long as you stay within 5 squares, which is really close to the action, you get those benefits. At level 2, you get Run and Gun, which is very similar to some other Fury stuff, lets you charge and then make a strike afterwards of any kind. However, it limits you to range strikes. So unlike the other ones where it's like you can do any melee signature, any melee heroic, you can instead do any ranged signature, any ranged heroic. In one of the playtests I did had a perfect like use case example of this. I took like the Raider kit, right? So I had like some axe throwing stuff. So not all like has to be a gun, right? Just took an axe throwing kit, and the solo monster was like just like 2 or 3 squares away from my full movement and a charge. And they were up on like a ledge. So I move over in position, initiate the charge, in the charge, jump, land on the ledge, and even though my movement couldn't get me close enough, I'm close enough to throw my axe with my signature and hit and deal extra damage to the ghost. There was another situation as well. I was fighting. It was a lot of solos that I fought this thing on, which meant I couldn't play test the rip and tear that much of like getting to tear through enemies as much. But the run and gun stuff and like playing with the range was really fun. There's another time where I literally like charged at this big old Remmerhaz that had swallowed a party member, and I jumped up mid-air, did my ranged attack, landed directly next to the enemy, and then followed up with some other thing, and it's just a lot of fun in terms of jumping around and being a Fury who's effective at range, even if that range is, still 5 squares.
That changes so much how the Fury plays, being able to be more effective at range.
Yeah. It came from a secondary idea I had in my head, which is just me, like literally just me like glazing the fuck out of draw steel, like his mechanics and combat and stuff. It's about the knockback maneuver and how the knockback maneuver, like the minimum, tier 1 is push 1, which might not get literally any creature with stability. But imagine if you get run up on by some goblin, right? And there's a goblin in melee with you and you're a ranged character. What are you going to do? Well, if you knock back, even at minimum, you push them 1 square away, and now you can ranged attack them without suffering the bane. You could have disengaged, but what if you want to move,
Yeah.
No one disengages. All right, yeah, no one escapes grab and no one disengages. But so the fantasy of like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if you got like just the idea of like an archer character kicking, like Sparta kicking someone back and then immediately popping an arrow in their face. It just seemed so cool to me. And so that's one of the Slayer Fury's later abilities. It's even in their, I think, in the Growing Ferocity table. But they get a high level ability called Kickback, where when you use the knockback maneuver on someone, I think their Growing Ferocity table, when you use the knockback maneuver, you have an edge on your next strike against the target. Which seems counterintuitive until you remember that this is like a pseudo like ranged Fury subclass. Right. So when you push someone away, then you get an edge. Or even if you're up against a wall, you can just push them into a wall and then hit them, then melee hit them. But so with Kickback, when you use the knockback maneuver and slam someone into a wall, you can spend a ferocity to make a ranged free strike against them. So like immediately follow up. I think it also does some extra force movement, and if that force movement is enough to break the wall behind them, then they are thrown through the wall and they keep going. So the idea is that you Sparta kick someone so hard, and while they are actively flying back, you shoot them in the chest so hard they fly back harder. There's also a little bit of Master Chief in this fantasy too.
In the Space Battle supplement, you also introduce something you call unique treasures as a variant on leveled treasures.
Yeah, I and this is not a solo opinion, as I think we both know that some good friends in our community are working on alternatives to leveled treasures as well. Shout out Mythic Treasures. But I always saw the leveled treasures as a attempt to mimic Matt Mercer's Vestiges of Divergence, right? Which is a very popular, CR, very popular. We see a lot of these mechanics in a few of the books that they've collabed on with WotC. But these are magic items that have multiple stages, right? Dormant, Awakened, and other names for them. And there's multiple tiers. I think, and to MCM's credit, I think there technically is only 3 in the base of these items. But when narrative or like important events, right, milestones happen to your character, the weapon grows in strength and its power increases. So you have this cool magic item that is growing along with you, which I think is an amazing mechanic, because how many times have you designed a character with a cool weapon only to immediately find like a +1 greatsword in a magic chest and be like, well, fucking like goodbye, my dad's sword, Brennan Lee Mulligan did a great bit on that where he's just like, oh, Frostmourne, like, just toss out your dad's sword. Just an amazingly cool weapon. So it kind of bridges that and it makes that feel cool. But I felt that the level treasures, the level gaps were so far apart that it never really felt like it was growing with you. It just sort of felt like at certain thresholds it got better, like how your stamina gets better at echelon thresholds, right? Yeah. Or how, you get a bonus to something. It never really felt like the item was personal. So with unique treasures, I aimed to fix that a little bit by, one, making them more available at first level, where like you could find this in your first adventure and it won't break the game. Like giving a person a level treasure at level 1 is usually seen as pretty bad. So then why does it have a first level effect, right?
Yeah.
So I designed the unique treasures to have a sort of scaling presence. One, more level spots, so not just the 1, 5, 9, right? I think it's 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. And they have usually multiple abilities in those level blocks, and I don't know if I specifically called it out, but it's how I would do it. You don't have to hand out all of those effects to the hero when they hit that level. So I could say you've got the level 1, Phoenix Saber, but it only has the first trait. Right? And then after your first adventure, you do some fun heroic thing. You make amends with a past. You did some cool thing. Now your sword glows, and now you have the second trait. It's more so the level cap is like, don't give them these traits until they're this level, is what the level cap, I think, means, really. And then again, it's still, you're encouraged to hand out. I only had one column to write out how they worked, but another way I would do it is like, I could sometimes show player the entire item and say, hey, this is what the item looks like. These are all the traits. Does that seem like something you want to use for your character? Or if you are the kind of DM that likes to make stuff specifically for your players, you can design a unique treasure for them specifically and just say, hey, you've got this cool item. Maybe do this, a campaign where everyone starts with one is usually how I like to do things, but only show them the first trait. This is an item. This is what it does. Oh, it's like a cool, cute trinket. That's neat. But then all of a sudden, you kill the guy who killed your dad, and then your sword glows, and I hand you another card, and now your sword does another thing. And now you discover that this magic item is attuned to you, right? It has this unique thing where it grows alongside you. And that's sort of like, it's less of like this fun thing I'm trying to push, and more like, hey, this is how I'm going to do level treasures, by the way, in case you guys wanted to rip this off, because this is, I think, way better. For at least my purposes of how I would think of a level treasure. I would never want a player to just go, I guess, like window shopping in the hero's book and sort of like pre-select, like, I want to get a Blade of Quintessence. Okay, well, now maybe you build your character like hoping that you get a Blade of Quintessence, and so you won't see one for like 8 sessions because of how the gameplay works. In getting the going on this epic quest to find the materials for it, getting the project source, then doing 450 points worth of downtime projects. It's like, awesome, yay, I finally have my character concept after a year. So this sort of bridges that gap of like, let them have cool stuff at level 1. Like, we're heroes. We should have a cool magic item that, sure, it's like a trinket basically at level 1, but by level 7 and level 9, it feels like a level treasure. You should have to earn that.
In the space battles, you touched upon it briefly. You've also included combat rules for space, and
yes.
as you mentioned, you kind of went I don't know if I should call it halfway, but you did kind of like something. You didn't go as far as making all the players one big thing, but they instead control, or they drive their own. What am I trying to say? Pilot. They pilot their own smaller ships, like individual ships.
Yes. I initially landed on that because I did not want to have to come up with and tackle my pirate ship problem. So I sideboarded that. I'm like, fuck it, everyone's just in their own thing, right? Everyone loves Star Fox. Shout out Super Mario Galaxy movie. In theaters now. I actually haven't seen it yet, but we all saw the poster and the guy who's in it. But so Star Fox is a very cool thing, great for my childhood. But also just like the X-Wings and Star Wars. Star Wars, I think, really encapsulates the Starfighter fantasy. The TIE Fighters versus the X-Wings dogfighting. If anyone's played Battlefront 2, the Starfighter mode is like easily the best thing ever made by man. So fun. So much fun. And so I wanted to capture that fantasy. Also so that I didn't have to do the pirate ship like bullshit of everyone on one ship, like Star Trek, right? Like the bridge crew. We are, lock X-foils in attack position, everyone going out there fighting in a space dogfight. So that was a lot easier to do because I just designed classes that are the ships. So again, I'm not claiming that these are in very like innovative and new designs. A lot of them are literally just ripped straight from certain classes and signatures and heroics, but they are renamed and reflavored in the context of a spaceship, right? I think my most fun example of this is the Scoundrel's trench run heroic ability, right? where they move very far in a straight line, and any enemies they pass by, they deal damage to, which is just 1,000 cuts from the shadow. But when you visualize it in your head as you going weaving between enemy ships and blasting them as you go, it's way cooler.
Yeah.
So again, like, it's not broke. I'm not fixing it. I'm just putting a nice shiny coat of space fighter paint over it, and sort of like anyone really could have done this, but I did it for you. Is kind of my idea, right? Like, you could have just been like, I'm playing a shadow, but I'm a spaceship. But now I'm like, well, I changed the names for you already, so you don't have to worry about that. There are some specific rules for like 0G / like fighting in a, what would technically be a 3-dimensional space, right? You think, oh, space combat, like, that's crazy. You could go in any direction. Well, you can go in any direction normally. Our world is 3D. We still play on 2D maps. I think most of the time, the like benefits / like things that happen when you're in a 3D space like that in space is you think about like weaving up and down over like asteroids or like wreckage of ships and stuff, or flying over an enemy ship. So all I did was add a rule that's like, hey, you can basically walk through walls. It's just difficult terrain because you're just taking extra time to fly under it or fly over it.
Right.
And then implementing that rule, and actually, I have been toying, and that someone asked this in the like MCDM, like the forum post a bit ago, and I wasn't thinking about it. I said it wasn't too much in the cards, but then I started thinking about it, and I think it's very possible that a codex integration is going to be very possible. I've been messing around with the codex, specifically that you can allow tokens to rotate, so the direction of a token can matter. But also, when you're messing with objects, I can place an asteroid down and as an object and give it the properties that it can be moved through, that its squares are difficult terrain, but that it blocks forced movement only. So you can go and fly through that asteroid no problem because you are purposely flying through it. But if someone shoves you into the asteroid, you would best believe that you smack right into it and take damage.
Oh, nice.
So that is fully available to do and integratable in the codex, and that's how it works in space battles, is that if you're force moved into an obstacle, then you take damage as if it was a wall, but you can move through it willingly, no problem.
This really reminds me, I did an interview with Tom Bloom, the designer of Lancer, and he mentioned that because he had just tried Draw Steel, which was why I interviewed him for Goblin Points, and he mentioned that Draw Steel went too simulationist because elevation should just be a status effect. Like, there shouldn't be a fly keyword or 3 dimensions. Only use 2, and if they're off the ground, they're just a status effect. This kind of reminds me of that, where you could make some complex 3D thing, or you could just make them asteroids difficult terrain, and it kind of simulates, or it abstracts the same thing, but it works.
Because you're like, there's no difference in being like, oh no, the enemy's underneath me, because you as a spaceship can just turn and look at the enemy.
Yeah.
So like any place the enemy can be, you can also look because you're in 3D space. So there's really no advantage to height and depth, that at least not enough that matters, right? And in that way, you also like can't do like the cheesiness of flight, where you're like, oh, I'm actually 8 squares up. Can he reach me? So I can't say you go, like I dip and sink down. Everyone's still on the same 2D plane. There's no elevation changes. With that, obviously, there is turning. There's like forward momentum is a big thing, where at the start of your turn, you're instantly force moved 2 squares forward because you're in a spaceship and you are flying. And I don't know if you know this thing about this theory of relativity and laws of motion, but unless you pump the brakes, which is kind of hard to do in the middle of a space dogfight, you're going to kind of keep going forward. There are some classes and ships that can work around that, and that's the best thing I think about doing it this way, is that I come up with a bunch of rules for how fighting in space works, like turning and the forward momentum and that sort of stuff. And then now when I'm designing these classes, I can give them abilities that break those rules, which is like the core key for the forefront of that, right? So, like, for example, the Hurricane ship, I think it's Slipstream is their trait, but at the start of their turn, whenever they get pushed by forward momentum, they can choose to actually go an additional 2 squares forward, right? So go even faster in the direction they're facing, or flip 180 and turn around instead of moving at all. So they're more in control of their speed because this is like a high octane speed based starfighter. Or shout out to the Hammerhead, easily the best, most fun to design spaceship and the best feedback I got, because it is just a Fury in space, because it's a ship that has melee abilities, because it has a ram built into it. It is a ship. It is a ship that is meant to be shoved into other ships, which is normally not the case. So the idea of you are actively flying at full speed and getting into collisions with other ships, because that's what your ship is designed for, is very funny. They have an effect that's sort of a ranged knockback, kind of like the Elementals, how they have a ranged knockback, but they have like a ranged slide. That in the flavor, because you have to think about like how these things translate from the draw steel mechanics into being a spaceship, right? Like, what does a knockback maneuver look like on a spaceship? How are you shoving someone as a ship that doesn't want to come in contact? Like, how is your car shoving another car 3 squares back? That's kind of weird. So for the Fury, I'm like, okay, well, it's going to be like, or for the Hammerheads, this is like kind of the Fury analog. They need to knockback. That's their maneuver. So I described it, and this is literally stolen from like some shit I saw in a Star Trek episode, like the night before. But they shoot tiny little missiles that latch onto the enemy ship that are like rocket thrusters that turn on and start pushing the ship in the wrong direction. So you just fire them out, they land on the enemy ship, and then you push them away in a direction that you want them to be. So like, it's a lot of just recontextualizing stuff like that to keep the fun and engaging combat that we all know from Draw Steel with that shiny coat of paint.
We are sadly running out of time. There's so much fun stuff you've made here.
I have made so much stuff. I'm sorry.
You know, this is just a good excuse to bring you back when you manage to release the solar supplement, and that'll just be another chance to talk even more about the stuff you've designed, both here in Space Battles and whatever else you might cook up in
I guess the last thing I'll leave off of, as I'm working on Under the Black Flag now, and I'm starting to try to figure out how every hero on a single ship works. Look out in the future for a Space Battles supplement. You have the bridge, where we I commit and you're on one ship. So that's on the docket of things to do later.
I always ask my guests to bring some recommendation that they want the listeners to be aware of or check out. So what have you brought for our listeners?
So I mulled this over so hard. Someone, and by someone, someone who shall not be named, yanked Adventures of Tintin last time, or like the last episode that I listened to. Hating this episode a little bit, because I heard Adventures of Tintin, and I'm like, fuck, that's such a good recommendation. That movie's so good. But I went ahead and I had to shout this out because it is a really, really amazing game, JRPG. I have stolen the soundtrack for it in almost every fantasy thing I've ever run because the soundtrack is insane. It is easy. If nothing else, just listen to the soundtrack of Octopath Traveler 1 and 2.
Oh.
Octopath Traveler is a JRPG from Square Enix. It is centered around 8 protagonists in a fantasy world. You create a party of 4, but you can start as 1 and then go and pick up the rest along your journey. And each of them has their own unique story set in the world as they're going on and like solving some stuff, right? One of my favorite characters from the first game, Cyrus Albright, is a scholar. He's like the mage type. And his adventure starts on his campus that he teaches at, where some kerfuffle happens, and he notices that a book is missing from the school's library. And a very dangerous book at that. So he sets off on a journey to find out who stole it. And it leads him down this crazy rabbit hole of all sorts of stuff. Ulberic, the warrior, once the knight to a king of a kingdom that no longer exists, felled to a coup, now lives in isolation in a mountain town. But when brigands come and kidnap some of the villagers, he must once again pick up his sword. And in the fight with the brigands, he hears a name he has not heard since the coup of his king. And now he sets off on a journey to find his path of redemption for the kingdom he failed to protect. And it's like literally every single character's first chapter is the quintessential way to write a character backstory. Because like that is the sickest shit ever. And like this is fully in antithesis to Matt's video on what are backstories for. Matt Coville, you're wrong. Having a character with an incredibly lucrative backstory is the easiest way to not have to prep anything ever or come up with ideas yourself. Oh, you're saying your family is like this big like crime syndicate that does all sorts of crazy stuff? Well, guess who just showed up? Guess what plot's happening now? Creating stuff for your players, I think, is the most fun part about DMing. Obviously, the director is a player too, but all my fun is already done because I've made the monsters and I've made the world. So now I get to watch you guys play with it, and the best way to do that is to introduce the stuff that you wrote and turn it against you, right? Liam O'Brien said this great thing in this talkback once about how Matt Mercer does things, where, Liam would go like, oh yeah, hey, I think it'd be cool if my character had this sort of thing. And then Matt Mercer goes, oh, cool, great, sweet. And then what he'll do is he'll take that thing, like it's barbed wire, wrap it around a baseball bat, and then wait around a corner for 3 months, and then hit you when you least expect it. And that, to me, has always worked. I think some of the best moments I've had in TTRPGs are when I take advantage of my players' backstories and use them against them, because nothing engages a player more than one, you taking something that they made and introducing it into the game you're playing, right? Like, everyone, I think, puts maybe too much of creating stuff on the director's side, but the heroes are the heroes of the story, and the stuff that they create should be as important. It's about telling a story together. You set the playing field, they set the players. And then it's your job to sort of weave those things together and kind of tell and run the story. Like you're already doing half of the work you would be for writing a book, which I think is my favorite part about playing TTRPGs. Because I am famous. I've tried writing stuff. I don't think my fiction's that great, but I think I suffer a lot with character and like writing characters. And so TTRPGs is like, oh, cool. I don't have to do that part. I just do world building. I make a couple NPCs with some like traits, and that's the least amount of bit I do. But even then, I think I struggle with running NPCs because that same reason. And then the players, land, and I take their stuff and I run with it. So Octopath Traveler does that amazingly, where like I said, like every character's first chapter sets them up on this crazy journey. And now and I say it should not be all the work on the GM, but this is a lot of work, and I don't recommend this, but it's how I do it because Octopath Traveler is so good at this. All of the stories are seemingly unconnected until you get to the last chapter, where all of them sort of allude to this overarching plot. And then once you finish all 8 of the stories, then you can unlock the secret ending and the true final boss of the game, where all of the character storylines coalesce and converge, right? Major spoilers for Octopath Traveler 1. The game is 12 years old. I'm sorry. But that scholar, that book was taken by someone who's looking to open a portal, right, to release this eldritch god. And that portal happens to lie in the ruins of the city that the warrior once protected. And that it was ransacked and sieged so they could get to the portal. And it becomes this big conspiracy where all of these character stories are intertwining. And it's just the most satisfying thing to do and watch your players be like, what the hell? Like, if you will make your note taker's day, when they are like, wait a minute, where, or like, when you put a problem in front of your players, and then 2 players go, oh no, my backstory. Wait, what? When they don't realize that they're like happening the same thing. I've literally had like a player be like, oh yeah, like I used to be part of like this bandit group that like did a bunch of bad stuff. We like razed villages and did all sorts of stuff. But now I did something I regret, and now I'm on a path of redemption. I'm trying to redeem myself from that. And then I have another player that goes, yeah, my parents were killed in a bandit raid. They were died when I was so young, and I'm trying to hunt down and find the bandit leader who killed them. And then I'm like, okay, so those are the same. Behind the scenes, just knit that little tapestry, tie it together, and then just wait for the day that the veil breaks and these two players realize this. So play Octopath Traveler. Those games have such an amazing soundtrack. They're so evocative. The music it should be studied in the lab. Like, each of the characters has their own unique theme, and those themes have a unique instrument that is like that character's instrument. So when it is played in the score, that instrument follows them. It's sort of like in their little motif.
Nice.
And the battle music, whenever a battle begins and we're like in like that kind of battle cutscene where we're talking to the thing we're about to fight, there's a theme that plays that is sort of like it's kind of like a chugging, like repetitive loop, but it's sort of like that pre-battle amble, and it has the motifs of the character's theme. It's unique to each of the characters. So it's this like looping, like for like Cyrus Albright, right? His theme, Cyrus the Scholar, it is like a waltz, right? So it's like this 3-step kind of pattern, very like fancy regent, right? The strings, and that sort of like 3-step waltz is his pre-battle theme, and all of the pre-battle themes in the game perfectly transition into the battle music. That they're seamless. There's no skip or like trait. Like the second you hit start, like you hit like A and do the dialogue option, the music will trail off, and then I can't I can describe it, but I cannot describe it until you hear it. But it perfectly transitions, and bam, we're right into the main action theme. Even so, you might have not even noticed.
Wow.
And this can be done with every single character's preamble battle theme, and it follows through into the second game. Like, the second game only adds to this with more stuff. The soundtrack is the thing I praise the most, but also the way it sets up its characters is such a fun way to do your character in TTRPGs. I love that like format a lot. They're a little grindy in the later sections. they are JRPGs, so be prepared. But they are so rewarding. I won't get into the mechanics. I've already talked a lot about what I like about Octopath Traveler, but the mechanics are so cool and so fun and engaging. So much so, I want to do a draw steal Octopath Traveler like hack, but I'm already doing too many things. So don't let me do that. If you see me start talking about Octopath Traveler in the homebrew server, shut me down. Stop. Just tell me. I got too much work to do.
Jenny, it's been so much fun having you on, and both hearing about like the decisions behind the design you've done, the stuff you've got coming up. I'm really looking forward to Across the Solar Expanse. The shit you're cooking with here, it's exactly my kind of that's right up my alley.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear. It's been great. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to keep making more stuff for this game, so I expect to be on here very soon. Again,
definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on, Jenny. I can't deny I am a bit biased here. The stuff she makes is so up my alley, and I think her designs are clever and easy to understand. I want to thank Anton Kermola, Shuvadop Roy, and Ananam for submitting questions for Jenny. If you want to be featured on Goblin Points or know of someone else who should be, leave a comment on YouTube or Spotify, or send me an email on tips@goblinpoints.com. Links to everything, including this script, can be found in the show notes and on goblinpoints.com. You can support my work by becoming a patron member. Paying members get to submit questions for my upcoming guests here on Goblin Points. You also get access to premium features on Stall. Stall is a digital toolset for playing and running Draw Steel. It's got digital hero sheets, encounter builder, monster lookup, the complete rules text, and more, such as the Stall supplement index, a comprehensive list of all the supplements being published for Drawsteel in one convenient place. Visit stall.app. That's STAWL.app. The next episode is on the 25th, and I'm speaking to another prolific creator in the community. I'm joined by Jonas Tintenzer. They've recently published College of Infinite Reflections, a shadow subclass, and they're probably like in half of the credits on anything I cover here on Goblin Points. See you next time. Snack this.